Hi everyone and welcome to the channel, where today we'll be reviewing the Ubiquiti mobility range of devices. In my particular case, the UMR-Industrial. Now you might be wondering, what is a Ubiquiti mobility device? In simple terms, it's a fairly advanced hotspot. But in this case, it's way more capable than your average hotspot that you might be getting from the local cell carrier. Now, what do these devices give you that a normal average hotspot does not? I'm going to go through everything that makes these devices relevant in today's IT infrastructure and communication, internet, etc. And I'll explain some of the pros and cons of each device. Now, I've opted out of all the options to go with the UMR-Industrial. Now, this is for my personal use, and I intend to use it everywhere. And I'll explain why later. Okay, now since I started the recording with just showing you the location of the UMR-Industrial that I've got here, in general, the location refreshes from what I've observed. Now, I've only had this device for about a day. It seems to not refresh that often when you're not in motion, but if it does detect that you are in a motion, then it actually seems to refresh fairly frequently. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the refresh cycle is. It doesn't nominate anyway. You cannot change it as far as I'm aware. It just does its thing. And so far it's been pretty good. Can this device be used to monitor, for example, your vehicle or other devices motion? The complete route, I'm going to say no. But if you're just curious about where a particular device is, I'd say yes. Now here, this is basically the map. I only have one device. As you can see, last time GPS checked was 7 minutes ago. I'm not going to zoom in any further, but it is fairly accurate. It shows you very accurate location on this device. I'm gonna say probably within I don't know, 3 to 4 meters. Probably even better if I had this placed somewhere outside. Okay, now you might see some red marks and bad quality here on the 4G. Now, unfortunately, there is no cell tower for this carrier close by, which is actually Optus, and it's rebranded by a company here in Australia called SIM. Okay, now I did do some testing while I was on the road yesterday, since I got this device only yesterday afternoon. And on average, I was getting download speeds probably about 60 to 70 megabytes down, and somehow 30, 40 to even just under 50 up, which I was actually surprised. Now, I personally used to use a RUT from Teltonica, and this device definitely outperforms the older generation RUTs. Now, as you see, I've actually got this open currently in a Chrome browser, because for whatever reason, it does not work in the LibreOffice, LibreWolf browser, which is Firefox based. This just seems to sit there and do nothing. As in the device we'll go through in a minute. But yeah, just keep in mind that for some reason, again, I didn't spend much time. The map does not work in a Firefox-based browser. Now here we find the devices. So we got the UMR-Industrial, UMR-US, and the UMR-Ultra-US. The left two actually have GPS built in. The right one does not. Okay, the Industrial is to some extent weatherproof, with the bottom enclosure there, which does come in the package. And the Industrial comes with everything to mount it to a pole, wall, pretty much anything. Rack, I think it comes with rack mounting as well. Not in a rack panel, but you mount it on the rack DIN, I think it's called. But I'll go into more details about this in a second. But this is basically the three devices we're going to be discussing. Now I've got the left one. Okay, so let's begin. Now my first issue when I got this device, there is actually a QR code on the box. And as standard, I assumed it's going to take me to some documentation on how to set the unit up. But instead, it actually sent me to here. It just tells me all the things that are in the box. I've literally just taken A out and everything else is left in, oh well E is actually already in the unit, so the nano SIM slot. Everything else I've just left in the box. Okay, now as you can see, this device can be mounted in various ways. So pole, wall, bracket. This is meant to be, I think, a rack DIN. But one thing I did not see in the documentation that this links, that QR code links me to, is how to actually set this stupid thing up. I actually had to Google it. I just did a simple Google Ubiquiti UMR setup, and then I found the first few article links, and one of them was mobility. Now there is no mobile mobility app. You can get to this if you're already on the Wi-Fi of the device through the normal UniFi app. It shows up at the bottom. You can click, but this is only if you have put accessible via local passwords. Now I'll go through that later in a minute, because there is a possible subscription you can get for this, which I think personally is not badly priced. So in summary, the QR code should take us to the setup guide and possibly a different QR code for this, for mounting, maybe somewhere separately in the box. But the setup was fairly simple. So you go to the you go to the mobility website. There won't be anything in here. The first thing it will say, add your device, and you just say add the device. On the device itself, let me see if there's a picture. So actually here on the back side, they don't show the back side anyway. Actually, the QR code there on the left is what you can read off. There's going to be a, I think, like a 9 characters, letters and numbers that you will just enter during the setup, and you go next. You obviously have to log in with your Ubiquiti account. Now I propose you can probably do it by patching yourself in. Now, since the device was fresh, it actually comes with the Wi-Fi enabled, and it has no password on the Wi-Fi. When you do get on the Wi-Fi, it will take you to the provisioning page straight away, which is the mobility.ui.com. It's kind of like a captivity portal, I guess you could call it. And then you can basically do the basic provisioning there. So you can connect to the Wi-Fi and do it that way. If you have a Wi-Fi device, that I guess makes sense. But I just expected better on the documentation front. Now, I think I've rambled out enough. Documentation should be better. I know we can connect it to the Wi-Fi. This is fine to be on there, but I think most people know how to use this. So let's get started on the first device, and I'll actually, I've already uploaded this before. That gives you a brief overview of the spec, pros and cons. General stuff. Now this was done with Grok. Grok does really good work, and as far as I can tell, everything seems accurate. And then at the bottom we do have a more detailed analysis. That's why you have this graph example, a shrunk down version for summary, and then a slightly bigger one down below. Now this is already live and will be included at the bottom of the video. But in summary, actually we can probably just skip through some of the pictures here, and we won't spend much time on here. Now this device is the cheapest of the bunch. I don't know what it ends up in American, about $50 less. It seems to come with the majority of the bands that you would be using. The speed's the same. All of them have the same LTE throughput, approximate. Again, will depend carrier range, etc. Well, the Wi-Fi, there is a slight difference, and I'll go through that in a minute. But they're all Wi-Fi 4, 2.4. There is no 5 gigahertz. I'm not actually sure if the dB is the same, but it usually doesn't matter. They have similar features regarding antennas. I think most of them are removable. I'm actually not 100% if this is removable. I'd assume it is. Internal, external, so it does have a connector, okay? The buttons, the functions for most of these is pretty much the same. You'll have a Wi-Fi antenna of sorts, you'll have an LTE antenna of sorts, you have a WAN port, so you can use, actually let me just switch to this. So you can use the PoE in for the internet, and the other port is by default LAN, but you can change this behavior. Now the 4-pin power connector, I've actually just, when I took this out of the box, I took my RUT 4-pin power connector, and it works because it's the same voltage. I think it's 9 to 30 volts from memory. Again, USB-C is there, but I think that's 9 to 30. But again, we'll go through the specs in a minute. So you can power it with a 4-pin. You can power it with Type-C. Now, I've done extensive testing with the Type-C. You can pretty much run it off anything. You can patch it into your laptop with even a cheap Chinese unrated cable, and it will power the device, and the device runs as intended. So you could carry this in your backpack or your bag, patch it into your laptop whenever you need it. It will spin up a hotspot. Now these are, so the first two devices, so the Ultra and the Industrial, now they are carrier unlocked by default. The last one seems to not be. I think this is not unlocked by default. But let me go back to the pictures. Okay. Now the spec for all of these are basically the same. So I'm gonna go to the summary page here and we'll just skip through them. So there is a difference in regard to the Wi-Fi. They're all Wi-Fi 4. The Industrial is actually 2x2. The Ultra-US is single chain. Now I'm not sure what that probably means. That one of the functions that I'll show you in a minute might be affected by this, but again, I don't have these other two units to verify my suspicion, so I can only go by the Industrial, and I've picked the Industrial. Primary reason was the Wi-Fi seems to be a little bit better. The weatherproofing, it is better weatherproofing. The speeds for LTE is the same. Now there is a difference. The Industrial has gigabit port and the US has gigabit port. This is just 100. Now if you've ever tried to use sometimes devices with certain things like a UDM from Ubiquiti or other devices that expect a 1 gig WAN port, some devices do not like 100 meg uplink. Okay, they want their 1 gig ports, otherwise they freak out. I've had situations where I needed to put like a cheap $20 switch in there just to make it a gig for a backup uplink. Again, now this might work differently because it's all Ubiquiti. They might have some magic that makes it still happy. And these days Ubiquiti UDMs have been pretty good. But so the Ethernet is different. The Wi-Fi is slightly different. The Industrial has weather rating. Now, oddly enough, the pricing for that in the Industrial and US is, according to this, the same. Now, I'm not sure if Grok checked it. I didn't check the pricing. But here in Australia, there is actually a difference. For some reason, the industrial is about $50 cheaper, or more like your 25-ish US. It's about 50 Australian cheaper. I don't know why. For all intents and purposes, that device is better if you ask me. Besides it looking industrial and not probably looking pretty on a conference table, but that might be personal opinion. So we will go through the setup in a second, so you can probably skip through. Here's the summary of the pros and cons. So rugged, I can actually confirm this. I didn't put it in my bag correctly yesterday, and when I jumped out of the car end of the day when I got home, it flicked out of the bag and probably threw about 1.5 meters straight onto concrete, rough concrete, not that smooth concrete, and it just has a little dot on the Wi-Fi antenna. Beyond that, it looks brand new. Okay, I can't test the weather, but I'm gonna assume that they've done their testing and it's fine. There is a slight difference in weight. This one has a screen, which some people might care about, but again, it is possible that it is carrier locked. Okay, so the use case for you will depend on how you intend to use it. I personally, out of these 3 devices, I see no drawback with the industrial, besides it looking industrial. And I personally like the look, because this looks fine. This looks, I mean, without this bottom cover, it actually has little nubby antennas. You can't see them. There's actually little baby antennas. They look like this, but about 1/3 of the size at the bottom, for the Wi-Fi. It actually looks pretty good if you ask me. Now let's actually get started with the device. Okay, now I've showed you the show map. As I said, it does not work in here. Now this is currently on an MA SIM card. Now I've put this 100 gig limit. I think there's about a couple terabytes of data on this SIM. Now there is a difference between the 3 units, that not all of them have the same band capabilities for 4G LTE. Now the industrial has pretty much all of them, which is a big pro for me, because you never know what tower is going to be in your area. Now that is my phone at the moment, just connected. It's connected. Does it actually tell me at what speeds it's connected? So it's connected at 20. Now on the phone it reported that it's connected at 144 megahertz. So I get no info here. Okay, does it tell me anything more? Nope. Just standard stuff. So I could do a fixed IP, I guess. Doesn't really work well with phones. But some of these things you're going to be familiar with other Ubiquiti products. So let's get to the device usage. Now this is just a basic overview, and we'll just go to settings, because inside is basically standard stuff. Speed test, I have a very bad reception where I am with that particular carrier. So this is really bad. That's why it's a lot of red stuff, and nothing to do with the unit. Other devices have the same problems in my area. On this carrier, other carriers like Telstra here actually has a tower maybe 100 meters up the road. It's actually in front of this window. I can probably see it if I opened it. That gets very good signal. I was getting, you know, close to a gig on my mobile. Okay. Now here's the settings. Now I will go fairly in depth. Okay. I'm not using it as an Ethernet bridge. I will just be going through the mobile router section, which is what I'm going to use it. The gigabyte usage plan I have specified. You can actually limit bandwidth after you exceed that limit. Okay, so you can warn at 80% if you wanted to. Okay, I've just set at this. This is just my first setup. I don't really use it often. I've got too much bandwidth to begin with. By default, the Wi-Fi function is on. So this is the base Wi-Fi for the unit. There is other functions I will show you in a minute. You give it a name, you give it a password, standard, nothing changes. Now, one thing you cannot do, you cannot say 20 or 40 hertz. It just does its own thing. I do not know when it decides what. The radio, after set it to max. Okay. Now, Ethernet or incoming internet options. Now, this is what we got. So if I click Ethernet here, by default, the PoE in is a WAN. You cannot change it to the second port to be the WAN port. The PoE in port is WAN, as it stays here, which is sad because not that often that the WAN port will actually be PoE. I guess it has its benefits, but so WAN is PoE in. Now, if I untick this, this will actually make that port a LAN port. So you will lose the Ethernet WAN capability. So this is Internet option number 1. Okay. Internet option number 2, which obviously makes sense, is cellular. There's probably nothing I need to tell you about that. It just works. I've just thrown in a SIM card. I didn't need to do anything. It just did everything, detected it, and it just worked. It was up probably in about a minute flat. Okay. Now, one thing that a lot of you travelers or people that are on the move a lot will like, and I was not aware that this had this function. Now, this is where this possibly will come in handy on the industrial compared to the single chain. Again, I don't know what it means by single chain. But so this function here, what you can actually do is if I turn this into Wi-Fi mode, I can actually connect it to a Wi-Fi. It can save up to 3 Wi-Fi profiles, that it says. So let's say you're at a hotel, you just say add Wi-Fi, you get this to piggyback off the hotel Wi-Fi, and you have your own personal bubble. Now, this potentially could be, if you ask me, for somebody that's in the UniFi ecosystem, the ultimate travel router. Why ultimate? Because it has so many other functions, which I will go through in a minute. Now, when you do actually do this, I'm not going to do it now. You will be presented with an option if you do link it up. Now, one thing that the device will do is anytime you make any substantial changes, it seems to restart. Keep that in mind. So I don't want to do this because the device will probably restart. But when you do this and you select Wi-Fi WAN mode, your normal Wi-Fi continues to work, which I get a little bit worried about this because it stays single chain. And does that mean that it's not capable of this? Does that mean it will turn off the local Wi-Fi? I don't know. I have no way to test. There might be other reviews going over this. But the option you will have, you can actually say primary internet comes from the Wi-Fi uplink. So as in WAN Wi-Fi. So coffee shop, hotel, you just anywhere at the airport and you want to patch it in. And then you have your own little personal bubble with your own secure space. And you get the option if you want the Wi-Fi to be primary internet and the other, which in this case would be cell phone, LTE, to be failover, or you want LTE to be primary and Wi-Fi to be failover. Okay, you obviously have the option to set stuff statically if you want. I just left it all default. I'm gonna hit cancel here. But this function itself is very useful, especially with the other things I'm going to go through in a second. Okay, now that we are done with the Wi-Fi Ethernet option, we're going to go to the normal local network. Now, you cannot have multiple networks. You can only have one. You're very limited in the functions here. The DHCP server is on by default. Now, I did not bother changing this. This is what it was out of the box. it didn't ask me to set this. This is just what it did. So 105 is the normal default uplink. Okay. I meant subnet. So 105 is the local subnet. Now we're going to move up to VPN Connect. Now there is more functions in the settings, which we'll go through in a second. But once you throw them in settings, you will actually be able to use this VPN Connect option. Now, I misspelled PIA. It doesn't matter. PIA VPN. If you actually enable this, all your traffic will route through that VPN carrier. Now, you're not limited to using PIA, because all I done is in PIA, I went to the bottom, I generated a profile, I picked, I think Melbourne, and I picked one of these. It generated the config. I'll show you in a second. I went to the config and I just uploaded it, and then it does its magic. Now, because this is a Ubiquiti device, you have a few options. You can do this device side to side to another device that has a public IP address. Keep in mind, this side needs to have a public IP address, or the other side must have a static or a public IP address that's publicly accessible. Does not necessarily need to be static, as long as it's publicly accessible. One drawback is you cannot connect to two sites at the same time, like you can with some of the other Ubiquiti options. So there is going to be a limit in how you utilize this. So if you've got two offices, or you, in this case, you've got a home and a data center location, you can only pick one of those at a time. Okay, which I think is a limiting factor. Maybe an update will come in the future that fixes this problem. But for the time being, you can only have one VPN on at a time. It does not matter which one you connect, it's one at a time. Now, I'll show you this setup in a second. I'm not going to select it, but if you did select it, it will route the traffic via that location. Now, I actually, for the side to side, I don't think it routes your normal traffic, so IP address would be still local. But there is nothing stopping you from spinning up a WireGuard in your home location and just dialing in as a client to that home location, or office location, or wherever you're trying to connect to. Again, we'll go through this in a minute. The next part you're very familiar, it's just port forwarding. Nothing special there. Same as the other Ubiquiti, very limited functionality. Firewall rules, okay. Create firewall rules. Again, nothing special. You can limit where what goes. Pretty much on par, I'm going to say, or similar to the normal Ubiquiti range. Now the routing. This routing, again, there might be updates in the future, is very limited. Now this is basically, as you see, static routes. That's all you can do. You can obviously assign the device, okay, because this actually took us to the settings section. I'll show you that in a second. You can assign the device and you can do the next hop, standard static routes. But that is about it. So routing, basically consider it non-existent. Has very limited functionality. Now PoE pass-through, I do not need to tell you what that's on about. So that you can probably put in a camera up to 10 watts, it states. I have not tested it, but I will believe them that it does work as intended. I'm going to assume that there's going to be limits in how you utilize this. I don't know if I want to bother testing it. I don't have any Ubiquiti cameras on me. So it is possible that it needs to be powered by PoE to make this available, or I'm gonna assume it needs PoE in to make PoE out work. Connected to it. Okay, I'm gonna leave this off. Location reporting. Now this is basically what it says. It enables the location on this device. Without this, the device will just be dark. You won't know where it is. And it will just do its usual hotspot functions without the location. Okay. Now this part here, the admin password, is what you need to set if you want to make this device available locally. By locally, I mean you would go to its local address, like in this case it's 192.168.1051. This is also the password if you are using your UniFi normal app for your UDMs, etc. At the bottom there is a mobility section and you can select it if you are on the same Wi-Fi and enter this password, and you basically get pretty much this whole menu. It might be a little bit simplified or maybe lacking some features. I have not really checked everything, but you do need to set this if you plan to use this locally, and we'll go through that in a second. Now I've set early access official. This is where you set a release candidate, a release channel. And I've just left it early access because again this device is not critical. And that is basically it. That shows us everything. Now this is the main menu for this particular device. Now let's head over to global settings. Now under global settings, desktop option is disabled by default. At least it was in my case. Okay. You've got local location reporting. If you want to enable this globally as default, you tick that. You have an exclusion, so UMR exclusion. So you can exclude some devices from these global settings. Okay. I mean, this kind of makes sense. I have ticked this because I personally don't really care. I want it to be up to date all the time. Now, when I first enabled this, the device seems to do the updates in order because it was probably out of commission for, I'm going to say, good 15 minutes, maybe longer, where it would be doing updates, then restarting, then updates, then restarting. Okay, so keep that in mind when you run this the first time. If you are in a hurry, don't tick this. Because once the motion started, it took a while. Now, this device has something interesting, a subscription. Now, I'm gonna click it now because I just enabled this device yesterday. It gives you a month free, which is basically this cloud console. And I'm gonna click it and we will show the options. Now, you do not need to use this. You do not need it to be accessible through the cloud manager. If you just want to be able to use it locally, that is perfectly fine. Just select don't get a subscription summary. Now the pricing, if you ask me, is fairly reasonable. I'm not actually sure why it shows euro here for me. 3 years, 49 euros. I don't know what that ends up in American. But for me, that ends up about 100 Australian dollars. So I'm going to assume American is about 50, 60 bucks. Depends on how your taxes are working for this. So I'm going to assume this is 49 euros. That's it, because European countries usually have a lot of the stuff already included. And Australia, the price that you usually buy stuff for is the price you buy stuff for. You don't need to guess. Again, I'll confirm this in a month. Okay, so this basically allows you the site-to-site VPN. So effortlessly set up site-to-site, okay? Now you can still use the normal dial-in VPN option. You can actually, I think, use all of these options. I think, actually, now that I think about it, I'm not actually sure if you can use all of these without the subscription. What I'll do is in a month when the subscription expires, I will leave it off and I will double check and I'll post below. So in about a month from now, I will check if all these functions are still working without a subscription. Because the site-to-site is what I personally got it, and the VPN functions. If it still functions without the subscription and you just need to access it through a local web interface, as far as I'm aware, that's the case, but it does not hurt to check it. So the subscription is fairly reasonably priced. I will probably go with this, the 3 years. For me, that is a very good price because that ends up next to nothing a day, a month, if you work it out. This monthly price is just ridiculous. But again, all your choice. Now we are going to the VPN section. Here we are, again, this is global settings. Keep that in mind. All of these settings are global. So I can only assume that if you have a fleet of these devices, that these will show up on those devices. So I've just done PIA Melbourne, and the whole process was download the config file from PIA, which is just as I said at the bottom, and you just pick where you need to dial in. Most VPN carriers will give you the same options, and I've just done my username in there and my password, and yeah, you don't need to select a device here, but if you want to select a particular device, you can. And again, there is nothing stopping you from using this as an uplink to your current device if it's not UniFi, or if it is UniFi and you just want to use it this way instead of doing the site-to-site. You can just get this to uplink to whatever VPN you want. I mean, you are very flexible. You can save, as far as I can tell, a lot of these, but again, site-to-site VPN or VPN client, one of those at a time. So it's limited to one VPN. Now here we are at a site-to-site. Now, as far as I can tell, this cannot be a VPN server, maybe in the future, but the memory usage on this device was already in the 50-60% just by using it normally. Now, if you select one of these sites and nominate a device, it will just dial into that device. I'll actually just say create new. So the WireGuard, the protocol that you have for this is WireGuard only. You would select a device that you want. You can nominate a normal site-to-site, a traditional way, as you've done. You can also select your UniFi cloud gateways from this list. I'm not going to select them because it actually exposes the IP addresses of the devices in question. But take my word for it, you just select it. You can actually select the subnets of each side. It shows you kind of like the UniFi mesh, the subnets, and you just tick the ones that you wanted to be able to mesh to. But it's basically like the normal UniFi mesh. You just go select that, and those subnets I want to be able to access, and it does the rest. So the UniFi cloud option, this is primarily the reason why I got it. Now, security is basically the standard stuff we briefly went over it. Firewall rules, normal. Forwarding, you guys are familiar with. The routing is basically useless. Okay, so let's actually go kind of to my conclusion here. Now, who are these devices for? Now, what I'm going to be using it, I will just have this in my backpack. If I need to be working on this for an extended period, because it is very flexible, I can just patch it into my laptop. Most locations I go to do have a form of PowerPoint or a USB port, And I've tested this in very weak USBs and it just boots and it works. So I'm going to use it in my backpack when I'm traveling in case I need to do anything in particular. I don't need to do my hotspot, then VPN from the laptop, and then this other thing, and then etc. I'm just going to use the device, turn it on, and just do what I need to do. Now, what other people might be using it, probably the same thing. They might be using some of these just to have as a very compact, sleek looking device. In their thing, due to the flexibility in how you power these, so PoE, I've tried in a few different PoEs. It pretty much works on more standard AF, AT, etc. As it says 48 volts. I have not tried in 24 because 24 would generally be passive. I do not want to fry the device. I've tried it in all kinds of USBs. I've tried it in the 4-pin from a Teltonica device. It just works. I plugged it in. It did its magic. Now, one other thing you can possibly use this is, now I've had this device actually since yesterday. So for about, I'm going to say probably about 18 hours on a 2600 milliamp power bank, and the power bank is at about half. Now I've only just switched it before I started doing this recording. So you could have a beefy power bank powering this for a very long time. It is very, now I did set the Wi-Fi to high throughput. So the Wi-Fi is set to high throughput here. Which might contribute a little bit to the usage. But this device, very flexible usage. Now amazing, it's PoE out 10 watts, which is probably suitable for most common cameras you might be using, or another access point if you really had to. If you were covering a larger area, 4G gives you the internet or LTE, and you have an access point in there. Most access points are going to be using a couple of watts. Let me actually see what I've got the U6 mesh here under my desk. I'm just curious what power that is using. So off a switch. The U6 mesh. So I've got a U6 mesh. It's using 6 watts at the moment. So this would be perfect for powering a U6 mesh. I have, let me see, a G5. So the G5 camera, the normal one, is using 2.4 watts. Okay, so this 10 watts can do a lot of amazing things. Power, very flexible. Nano SIM unlocked, Nano SIM unlocked. The UMR-US might be locked in some regions. Now, another big reason I picked Industrial. Look at all these bands that it can do. Okay, now this one here looks like it can do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So they can do the same. So they can do the same ranges. Multi MIMO, better Wi-Fi basically. It's still 2.4 gigahertz. Again, not sure what the single chain limitation is. GPS. So this actually does have an internal GPS. I thought it didn't. I read somewhere that it didn't. Again, apologize for that, because I stated before that it did not have GPS when we started this video. Now I'm gonna not mumble about too much. I'll link this below. I'll get you to probably skip through it and leave a comment below in what you think and what you would be using this for. So perfect travel router, uplink or side-to-side link, can be used as backup internet. The Ethernet port you can actually use as your primary internet if you really wanted to, with the LTE being your backup internet. So this could be your main router in some cases. It does have a 1 gig WAN port and 1 gig LAN port. So ultimate router for everything. Probably leave your comments below, see what you think. Have I missed anything? It's possible I missed something. I did try to cover everything. The mounting options, as I said, it's got a varied option. This industrial, if you ask me, it's the ultimate device. I was going to go with those GLXE, whatever they're called. This I think set me back about $400 Australian, because Australian dollar is bad. But the device looks very good. Out of all three, I opted for that one. Again, you might have your own opinions, and again, everybody has a particular use case and their own opinion. So feel free to leave your comments below. I'm looking forward to reading what everybody has to say. Now, you guys have a good weekend, and I'll try to upload this video later today. So today is the 5th of April 2025, and yes, we do the dates the right way around, like everybody in the world. Have a good weekend, and hope to see you here soon. Bye.